If you are pregnant or you've recently had a baby, this podcast is for you. I am your host, Kath Bequee, a physiotherapist working in women's health and mum of three. Inside my online program, FitNest Mama, I just love helping support women to care for their bodies during pregnancy, prepare their bodies for birth, and support their after-birth recovery, helping them feel confident and strong inside out during this important stage of their lives. In this podcast, join me each week as we dive into all things pregnancy care, childbirth, and postnatal recovery, helping you through every step of the journey. It is absolutely possible to feel amazing and confident in our bodies during this motherhood journey, and I want that for you. Come and say hi to me on Instagram at FitNest Mama, and let's dive into today's episode. Hey, welcome back to another episode of the FitNest Mama podcast. So today I chat with Kris, who helps to support women in uncovering their limiting beliefs. She helps women take radical responsibility for their life's path, and she helps women tap into their unconscious desires and reignite their fire. So in other words, we're going to discuss things such as, how do I exercise as a mum when I'm really busy and tired and I've got low motivation? Or you might be asking yourself the question around, I'm so busy, why am I feeling so dissatisfied with my life at the moment? So we go into some really great topics. Kris is a master neuro-linguistic programming practitioner. She's certified in emotional change therapy and hypnosis. She's a mum of two and a stepmom of two. So that brings her total tribe to 4 children. And she is a bit of a powerhouse in terms of discussion. Does involve like life coaching for women. And we do have a bit of a focus because it's the new year. A lot of women are wanting to return to exercise postpartum. A lot of women are feeling too busy, or they feel they're at the bottom of the to-do list. So if anything I have said so far resonates with you and you would like to be able to prioritise not just exercise, but you time, or bring some joy into your life, or achieve certain goals, then you will love this episode with Kris. Before I do dive into this episode, I would like to invite you to trial FitNest Mama for 7 days. So there is a free 7-day trial. So if you would like to focus on reclaiming your pelvic floor, core and strength safely, then FitNest Mama could be for you. Perhaps you find you're not exercising as much as you'd like to during pregnancy and after birth. Perhaps you're busy, or you've lost the motivation, or you're just not sure how to best look after your body. Perhaps you've got pelvic girdle pain and abdominal muscle separation, and you're not sure about the best exercises for you. Or you'd like to get back into running after birth and you want the best Kickstarter possible, then FitNest Mama is for you. So join us for these convenient, short, easy workouts that you can do from home whilst your bubba sleeps, your toddler runs around, or at the end of a long day at work. Head to fitnestmama.com and the link is in show notes. Right, let's get into this episode. Kris, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today. It is the new year, and when I was planning the start of the new year with all the podcasts, I was in touch with you because I thought you would actually be the perfect person to speak to, because today we're going to discuss all things new goals, new year, but as we all know, as a mother, sometimes these things can be a bit tricky. So before I keep talking, can you please let our listeners know who you are and what is it that you do? Why are you so perfect for this podcast interview?
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm absolutely just pumped to be here and excited to start the first podcast of the year for myself, both being a guest and also having been on a podcast. You know what I mean? I have a podcast myself, Inside Out with Kris, that I've had for a couple of years. And outside of that, I am a life coach. So I am a master neuro-linguistic programming practitioner, which is a bit of a mouthful. However, that speaks directly to behavior and behavioral patterns and mindset dancing with primarily things like trauma and healing. So really diving deep into supporting women on their healing journey. Something that I love to do is take women from, a lot of women right now are in the mentality of self-discovery, right? We're doing the things, we're doing meditation, we're dabbling in breath work, we're doing a bit of yoga, we're trying all the wellness industry has to offer, right? We're trying these different modalities to help feel better, and that's where I place self-discovery. However, I take women from self-discovery to self-mastery, and that is being a master of your emotions, a master of your well-being, a master of your mindset, and that's through a lot of the work that I do with NLP. Other than that, I have a husband and 4 children, 2 stepdaughters and 2 of my babies myself, so we are very busy.
Absolutely. And how old are your children now?
I have one going to high school in a couple of weeks. She is 12. I have a 10, almost 11, who's going to year 6 this year, my 2 stepdaughters. I have my son who just turned 4, and then my daughter Lola, who is 2.5.
Oh, wow. Busy.
Yeah, very much.
So, Kris, going back to what you were just saying, you help with the healing process and that self-discovery with the coaching. What's some of the things going through women's lives when they come to you in the first place? Like, what sort of place might they be in that they need to come and see a life coach or have healing and all those sorts of things?
Yeah. So look, the common theme that's coming to mind right now is I'm doing all the things and I don't feel better. I'm doing all the things, but I'm not sticking to my diet. I'm doing all the things, but I can't seem to get into an exercise routine. I'm doing all the things, I can't lose weight. Like, you're doing all the things that the wellness industry has to offer, right? And that you're being told, and it's being flooded through social media platforms that we should be doing, right? Whether it's this fad or that fad, but whatever thing that it is, one of them might be great for you. And one of them you might actually really enjoy eating that way or exercising that way, right? And it does bring you joy, but you've got so many deeply ingrained limiting beliefs, and they originally stem from things like childhood conditioning, right? Where there is elements and pieces of our childhood that we don't even know has impacted us as adults, that we are holding within us, that then set us up for self-sabotage unconsciously. So an example of this, right? In the past, I've had a client who, the reason was it was a not good enough piece. Okay. So basically things would come up in her life and it would always come back to, I'm not good enough, right? A worthiness piece. And we did some work around this, and we went back in the many, many years till she was about maybe 5 or 6, and she was plaiting hair, and her mum had been teaching her how to plait hair. I think it might have been her little sister's hair from memory. And eventually, because she couldn't get the hang of it and they had to get out the door, mum was like, oh, don't worry about it. I'll do it myself. It's easier if I do it. And it wasn't some big, traumatic, horrific moment. It was one thing that was said to her when she was a little girl that she's held that on for so long, right? And that's carried on into adulthood, where she's making these decisions and not feeling good enough. So we cleaned up that energy there, and she was able to identify why she feels that way, right? So it can be.
What you're saying makes my heart beat really fast, because as a mother, there's so many ways we can mess up our children for life. Like, that's scary. That was such a, like, the number of times we've been running late and, anyway, that's a worry.
The thing is, we're all doing the best with the resources we have, right? So even me as a mother, I'm impatient. I raise my voice. I get really frustrated. I burst into tears. I do all the things, and doing the things like that, I'm even self-aware enough to understand, and I have all the tools and resources to know that might impact something later. You still got to get out the door. You still got to do the thing, right? And it's actually okay if you're doing that. Like, it's totally okay, because we're bringing our children up in an entirely different generation of parenthood where we're becoming more self-aware ourselves. So we're gaining these tools and we're learning. And when our children get to a certain age, if they're having these heavy feelings of unworthiness, rather than in the past where it's like, you don't talk about that, we say, open up, let's open the door, let's have a chat, let's sit down, let's get you some help, let's, find ways to allow you to feel worthy, right? So we're not in a generation of parents where things are being smushed under the rug and we never talk about it again. But that's just one identity piece, right, where that was sitting within her heart and soul unconsciously. She didn't even know that happened until we did the work. Right? There was no conscious recollection of that time. So it's super interesting. And that theme around worthiness is quite common, in particular postpartum mums coming in to work with me. Specifically, they're in a place where I was, right? I'm calling these women in because I've been where they are. And it is, I'm postpartum, I'm not working. I know I have more purpose in this life, but I don't know what that is. What do I do? I'm sitting here in motherhood going, oh, is this it? Isn't there more? Shouldn't I like this more? Shouldn't I want to be with my kids like this? I don't actually want to be with them this much. And they're questioning themselves as parents. And that's when they're coming to me and they're like, I just want more. I don't want this mediocre life. Like, this isn't happy medium for me. Like, and then I'm carrying that guilt and that shame, beating myself up internally, and so angry and filling themselves up with resentment because they're not being the parent that they expected themselves to be, right? So, yeah, that's a couple of the themes that I'm experiencing at the moment with a lot of inquiries and a lot of clients coming through.
Interesting. And what you said at the start there, that was something I see a lot with women who join my program, FitNest Mama. So it's an online workout program. It's easy, it's accessible, it's easy to implement in life. But sometimes, not always, but like it does happen where women end up cancelling. And then I have a chat to them and it turns out they haven't even logged on once, or they haven't participated once, or even like there's been some barrier to stop them. Like they've signed up, but then there's something stopping them from taking that next level. Is that sort of thing that you see?
Absolutely. Like that's what I like to say. That's fear, right? We get that sensation in our stomachs. We might feel sick. We might be like, it's too hard. We get overwhelmed. We start looping this negative cycle right internally of, I'm not going to be able to do this. This is going to be too hard on me. My body's too tired. I'm too tired to start today. I'll start again next Monday. Like this mentality and this cycle that loops and loops and loops, when really on the other side of fear is growth. So if you sit in the fear for a little bit longer, just sit there a bit longer and lean in a bit harder and move through those growing pains, right? You get out on the other side and you're like, oh, I can do it. Cool. What next?
Yeah.
Like fear for me now, if I'm scared of something, I'm in. If that feels icky, get me there. That's where I need to go. Whereas in the past, I'd pull back and pull as hard and resist as much as I possibly could, right?
Yeah.
And things like fitness are a huge common thought process for women because we're starting again. A lot of people are starting from scratch, and scratch is hard. And I remember very clearly that first day back where I was holding my newborn child. I had my toddler jumping over me as I tried to move my body for the first time, tears rolling down my face, right? Yeah. There's mirrors in my home gym. My husband has like mirrors set up in the gym, and seeing my reflection, I'm like, this is too hard. I can't do this. This isn't for me anymore. Why bother? I'm big anyway. Why bother doing this? It's not going to change. And pushing through that, right? Pushing through that fear and just show up. And then eventually once the results start coming over, you allow yourself that sense of satisfaction, that sense of self-love, that sense of self-respect. And that's where the growth lies.
This episode is brought to you by Baby Bee, Australian-owned and designed prams combining quality, safety and style. Not only does Baby Bee let you try their prams at home with free returns for 9 months, yes, that's 9 months, they also offer an industry-leading 3-year warranty for total peace of mind. With thousands of 5-star reviews, around-the-clock customer care, and up to $300 of free accessories with every pram, what are you waiting for? Go visit www.babybeeonline.com and check them out for yourself. And yes, for listeners of the podcast, there is a 20% discount code. Enter FITBEE, FITBEE 20 at checkout, and T's and C's apply.
Okay, well, that's a lot you just mentioned. Let's dive into that. So let's just pick that apart because that was all brilliant what you were just talking about. And I was like, yes, that's like women I'm talking to every single day. So that's great. So let's talk to the mum who's listening today who's perhaps had a baby recently, or perhaps she's pregnant and she's not exercising as much as she wanted to, or she's finding it hard, she's tired, she's sleep deprived, she's busy. Right. What can you tell us, Kris? Okay. If this woman's wanting to get into exercise, what are some tips for her? Like, what are some things she can reflect on?
I would love to ask this woman, what did you do for fun when you were 7? Let's talk to little you for a minute. Let's talk to the little girl that's in you, the little girl that played, the little girl that fell off the swing and got straight back up, the little girl that pushed another kid off the slide because it was her turn and she had that fire and that flare, right? Let's talk to her for a second. What did she do that brought her joy? Was it skipping? Was it dancing? Was it just swinging on a damn swing, right? Was it chasing after a dog in the backyard? What lit you up when you were 7? And how can you bring that into your day-to-day right now? And if that looks like just dancing in your kitchen naked for 2 minutes a day, then do that, right? If that looks like going for a run for 100 meters, and that's all it is each day, right? If you can and you're able to and you're in that position because running when you were little brought you joy, like just do the thing that lit you up when you were little, just a tiny element of that in the day and see how that feels. Like do that often enough and consistently enough. Choose to show up for yourself, right? Find that thing and then commit to it and be like, cool, so I'm going to dance in the kitchen every day, once a day, and that's my thing. It's going to be 2 minutes or just one song, and start there. And then move your body, like sweat, break a sweat, have fun with it, get your kids involved, dance with your fucking husband. Dance with the person you love. And in that time, you're disconnecting from because you are filled with another common theme, right? This isn't everyone, but filled with resentment that they get to go to work and you're at home with a baby and you stink and you've got vomit on you and you're sick of cooking dinners every single week, right? Speaking to that woman, if that's you, dance with him. Like look at him and love him when he gets home from work. Find those little elements that are going to light you up inside and do that. Don't do things that are filling you with resistance and anger and frustration and time restraints and guilt. You're angry at the kids because you're trying to do a 12-minute workout, but if you're not all in, then it doesn't count because you haven't done it right? But the kids are crawling all over you and, I've been there, right? And it makes you think it's not good enough. Actually okay.
Absolutely. And I remember that was a big transition because before you have children, well, my idea of exercise was going to the gym for an hour, having a shower, coming to the shops on the way home, or perhaps it was meeting up with a friend for a long walk and a coffee.
Yeah.
And that transition to, 10 minutes with my kids on our backyard or in the lounge room with my kids, jumping all over me and being happy with that. That was a big transition and it didn't happen overnight. But I do remember, as you said, there can be a lot of joy in doing that. And I used to do what we called a Wiggles workout, where we'd put the Wiggles on and whenever they were dancing and singing in Wiggles, our whole family, me with the kids, toddlers, would all dance together. And then when the Wiggles were talking, I would do triceps, some squats, that sort of stuff. And then after 10 minutes, kids have had fun. I've had fun. It was great.
Absolutely. And I think if you're at that point where you actually want to move your body in that way, where I was quite similar, I wanted to do squats, I wanted to do push-ups and things like that. There's ways you can just put a time cap on it, make it 3 minutes, not 12. Actually do what's achievable and be realistic with that, and then be proud of yourself for achieving that. Be like, pat on the back. I just did 20 burpees in 10 minutes. All right. But I did it. I started today. And stop moving for weight loss. Stop moving for physical change. Move for love and move for compassion for your body and move for the endorphins. If you change your priority around movement to those things, moving becomes much more enjoyable.
It's music to my ears, Kris.
I thought it might be. Very similar. I can't even say the word right now. Similarly aligned.
And I think, all mums could probably resonate with that because I think our life, priorities do change. And for me, I used to run and I used to try to get faster, every time, and I would do the 10K fun runs and all that sort of stuff. Whereas now I like to go out and exercise to help me feel good and, good mood for the day, help my body, mind, spirit, that sort of thing. So it's definitely changed.
Totally.
Okay, so what are you've mentioned a few already, but what are some of the limiting beliefs that you'd find quite common for mums that do hold them back?
Not good enough. There's one of the common themes actually that a lot of people find surprising is a fear of success. So normally we'd think fear of failure, right? But the fear of success comes with setting yourself up, self-sabotaging, right? That internal conflict of what does success looks like. So an example of that might be that you want to create your own business, but you've been talking about this business for years. You've been talking about all the ideas and what you're going to do, and you never actually do it. And I'm wondering, and if that's coming up for someone that's listening, I'm wondering what your business looks like when you create it, when it's successful. Does that mean there's less time with your kids? Does that mean that maybe you and your husband fight a little bit? Does that mean, like, how does life look unconsciously if you do achieve that? Because that could be the root cause of why you're not taking the steps forward to actually do the thing and do the work and create the business, because you can actually unconsciously visualize, and you know in your mind and your body that doing the thing that you want to do means that you might sacrifice something else. So you set yourself up for failure. However, you have a fear of that success. And that's actually quite common for a lot of women, why they aren't stepping powerfully into their businesses, why they aren't standing in their dark feminine and being strong and embodying that self-empowerment and owning themselves and taking responsibility in their business, and just waiting and waiting and waiting. Oh, when the kids are older, when I'm a bit healthier, when I've got more money in the bank, when I've got, like, the time is now.
Yeah.
Like, time will always be there. There'll always be a reason not to do the thing.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably one of the most surprising things that comes up. Other things like fear of judgment, and then your big emotions, fear, shame, sadness, guilt, they all exist in limiting beliefs around certain areas of everyone's lives. So once you clean that up with the emotional change work that I do within my coaching, once we clean that up, the revelations and the openings, right? Like, it's like people zoomed in with a camera lens, and there's here, and they've got this story in this box that they're telling themselves. And once we clean that up, we zoom out, and it's like, whew, I can see everything again.
Yeah.
Wow, like, I'm open here.
Yeah. So everything you just said, totally resonate with in terms of my clients and members and all that sort of stuff. And I want to dial into one of those things you just said. So one of the really common things that holds women I speak to back from consistency in terms of exercise, for example, is what you just said, I don't have enough time. And I think that a lot of mums would resonate with that. I don't have enough time, for me time, like massage or fun time, seeing friends, whatever it might be. Can we dial into that limiting belief a little bit more?
Yeah, absolutely. And look, a lot of us are pressured on time. I get it. However, when that shows up for me, when my time shifts and change, which it actually recently did, I've been at a gym for 12 months. I love that gym. I love the community. I was having a great time every morning, music pumping. I'm in an environment where I can switch off, right? I just show up, I train, and I leave and come home, but I get that space to myself. That's what I've been doing for the last 12 months, and I loved it. However, things changed in my household, and my home needed more of me. So what that looked like is me quitting my membership. I didn't even think twice about it. I went, that's fine, right? Because I lent into, in the past, that would have felt scary. In the past, I would have resisted that, being like, no, now I'm angry at my family because my husband should have to change his schedule. Why do I have to change my schedule? Why can't I make the 5 a.m. class? But the thing is, it's getting up at 4:30, getting to 5 a.m., and then you're not home till 6:15, and it's actually too late for me now, right? And I could have said, I don't have time to train anymore. And just threw it in the bin, been like, oh, I might go for a walk in the day, but we all know that's not going to happen, right? But instead, I still get up at 4:30, I still train on my own, and I still make it happen because I do have time. I create the time, get up earlier, go to bed later, do it while you're playing with your kids, get your kids to do it with you. Just get outside, go out the back and do lunges up and down the backyard. We can all create 12 minutes in our day. And I also encourage you to check your screen time and tell me you don't have time after that.
100%. Absolutely.
Right? Because there's so much of us saying, I don't have time, but it's the old myth, right? We've just heard it for so long that we don't have time, but we do if it's a priority. And then other people might come to the thought process of, I'm really struggling though to start. And this is the analogy that I like to use. If you see a pen and you need to use a pen, what do? You pick it up. You just pick up the pen. So pick up yourself and do the workout. Cut the story. There needs to be an element of cutting the BS, to be honest, sometimes. And that's essentially where I draw the line. I'm like, cut the story. We've all got time.
Or what I like to say is reduce the resistance. So as you said, for a lot of women, resistance is going to a gym, for example, or going to that CrossFit class or whatever it is. And if you reduce that resistance and, as you said, do a workout at home for 10 minutes or, already put your shoes by the front door so that you just roll out of bed or wear your gym clothes to bed, you know, and then just pop your shoes on. So reduce whatever resistance is stopping you from doing.
Absolutely. And like we were talking about earlier, have a dance party with your kids. Don't tell me you don't have time to do that in your day. You know, like really, let's be super honest about that. Like movement needs to bring you joy. Movement needs to be something that isn't painful, something that doesn't cause resistance, something where you're not, example, walking for me. I don't enjoy it. I don't like being with my thoughts alone for that long a period of time. I do walk because it is good for myself to listen to podcasts and go on that like mental health walk, right? That's good for me to do a few times a week, but I cannot do that every day. I've got no interest in it. Give me a high intensity session every day of the week and I'll do it, no problem. I love that feeling, but walking is batshit boring to me. So I don't do it too often because otherwise I resist it so much it stops me wanting to exercise at all. And I know that. And do the thing that lights you up.
Yeah. And the fact that you've reflected on that, you've realised that, and now you're working with that, I think, is like that awareness is key. What do you like and what lights you up and what doesn't light you up?
Yeah. Like weight training, even for me, I incorporate heavy weights into conditioning piece workouts. I know my body responds best to hypertrophy training. It always has, but I get so bored. I don't want to do 4 sets of 10 of something. I am bored. I want to do 1 set of 10 of this, 1 set of 10 of this, 1 set of 10 of this, and then come back and then go for a run in between. Like that makes me feel good and empowered and strong. And that's what I do when I train. Is it the best thing for my body? Like, am I perfectly toned and losing weight rapidly? No, I'm not, but I don't want to. That's not where the goals are for me. The goal is enjoying exercise, right?
I agree. 4 sets of 10 in a row, how boring. You can definitely mix it up and make it more interesting.
I'm so crazy. Like in my head, if you give me 100 reps or something, that's fine. 100, then like 90, then 80 or something. Like in my head, I'm like, yeah, that's fine. But 4 sets of 10 of something, I'm just like, no, not for me. So I'll do more of it, but I won't like keep it simple.
Yeah. Just yesterday, actually, so it's right on the forefront of my mind. We did 3 sets of 10 of something, but 1 set of 10 with upper body strength, we did, I can't remember what it was. It was like a core with core. And then it was the same exercise, but then we did it in standing with squats. And then we did it with some balance work. So we still did our 3 sets, but we made it different each time. Does that make sense? Yeah. So absolutely.
Perfect.
If you're getting bored, you need something to help mix it up for sure.
Yes.
Amazing. So Kris, we've talked about some limiting beliefs around like consistency and achieving our goals. We've talked about how to prioritise exercise and me time and all that rest as a busy mother. We've talked about like I know we've sort of talked about returning to exercise postpartum, but that sort of branches into all sorts of topics like, whatever it is that your goal is, being a busy mum, feeling like we're at the bottom of the to-do list, like how do we carve out some time or something that's important for us? So we have covered a lot in this 25 minutes or so. So thank you. Was there anything else you just wanted to discuss, any other points that you thought were important?
Look, I just feel like women need to be reminded, and take this as your reminder, to be gentle with yourself, be kind. Don't put your phone away. Stop comparing. Stop looking at what other people are doing, because no one is you, and that is your superpower, right? Your life is your own. No one has your kids. No one has your husband. No one has your workload, your mental load. Like, stop comparing to what everyone else has and look around you and be grateful for what exists within you. And then also reflecting on being grateful, 2 feet and a heartbeat, right? Like when we're talking about movement and exercise, you've got 2 feet and a heartbeat. If you have that, you're already winning.
Yeah.
So forward thinking about that moving forward, like set a plan, make it super realistic, be specific with your goals. Do not put anything down that isn't not achievable, right? And then manage your time around those goals and be selfish. It's okay to be selfish and want to achieve. Just because you're a mum doesn't mean you can't achieve something, right? Show your kids how you want them to show up for themselves.
Yeah, brilliant. Great place to end this conversation. Thank you so much, Kris, for joining me. Can you let everyone know how they can find you and, where to touch base if they'd like to look you up?
Yeah, absolutely. So Instagram is at Inside Out with Kris, Kris. Website is insideoutwithkris.com.au. That actually goes live today. So my group program will start in March, which jump on the website and have a bit of a look with that. And if anyone wants to have a chat or reach out, please jump on the website and book a discovery call, and we'll have a chat and catch up and see where you're at and see how I can help you.
Amazing. Thanks, Kris. I'll put all those links in the show notes. So everyone can click those. Thank you so much for joining me today.
No, thank you for having me. It's been great chatting with you.
Okay, great. See you soon. And before I sign off, remember my team and I will be putting together the show notes for this episode with all the links, including how to connect with Kris at fitnessmama.com/podcast. Have a fabulous day, everyone, and I look forward to you joining me next week for another episode of the FitNest Mama podcast.
Thanks for listening to the FitNest Mama podcast, brought to you by the FitNest Mama freebies found at www.fitnessmama.com/free. So please take a few seconds to leave a review, subscribe so you don't miss an episode, and be sure to take a screenshot of this podcast, upload it to your social media, and tag me at FitNest Mama so I can give you a shout out too. Until next time, remember, an active pregnancy, confident childbirth, and strong postnatal recovery is something that you deserve. Remember our disclaimer, materials and contents in this podcast are intended as general information only and shouldn't substitute any medical advice, diagnosis or treatment. I'll see you soon.